Syd Fizzard for Rebel News here in Calgary, Alberta for the Canada Strong and Free Network, with the keynote speaker being Premier Danielle Smith. In this report, I spoke to Keith Wilson, a very well-known lawyer here in Alberta, advocating for Alberta's independence from Canada's Confederation. We spoke to him to get an update on the separation status and some of the legal happenings that have been taking place regarding another petition that seems to be in contrast to the petition you might know about, which is the one calling for Albertans to ask whether or not they would like to stay in Canada's Confederation.
I'm a lawyer who's currently involved in the the issue of Alberta independence, and I've done other things such as representing the Freedom Convoy.
And you've been doing some work with the Alberta Prosperity Project specifically. Well, tell us a little bit about that work.
Well, I'm not actually a member of the Alberta Prosperity Project, but I most definitely support what they do, and I try and help them where I can. The Alberta Prosperity Project has been doing amazing things. Almost daily town hall meetings across the province that are almost always completely full, even on beautiful summer days and during harvest. And they've now amassed over 35 volunteers to be canvassers for the petition, which will hopefully lead to a referendum in 2026. And they have over 250,000 people committed to sign that petition when they only actually need 177,000. So there's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of things happening in Alberta towards independence.
We're at this event, the Canada Strong and Free Network. Why is it important for you to be here today?
Well, I was invited to attend, and conservatives, this is a national conservative gathering, and clearly conservatives in other parts of the country are not necessarily universally supportive of Alberta independence, as not all conservatives perhaps are in Alberta. So I think it was an opportunity to have a dialogue about what the drivers are for Alberta independence, and for me to explain why I think it's a good idea and the legal mechanism and legal pathway we have for it to be achieved.
Do you think that the Conservatives that are coming from outside of the province are truly recognizing the issues at hand here?
I think that was part of one of the goals today, was to allow Conservatives, particularly from Central Canada, to have a more deeper understanding of the seriousness of the independence movement and how it's something that could actually be achieved if the conditions are right. So I think it's good to have this kind of discussion at a national level.
It seems like there has been some engagement with the courts lately in regards to the petition and which petitions are allowed. Could you just explain for somebody who doesn't understand what's going on? There's two petitions. What's happening?
Well, there are two petitions, and one is a policy question initiated by a former politician here in Alberta, and it's called the Forever Canada petition, and it's being promoted by those people who feel that there's no circumstance under which Alberta should leave Canada and they should always stay in Canada, so Forever Canada. But because it was initiated under old legislation, they have only 90 days to get over 395,000 signatures. It's a policy question. It's not a constitutional question. It can't have any impact on the independence movement. It's purely I call it a gimmick. Interestingly enough, the petition that's been filed by the Alberta Prosperity Project is for a constitutional question of separation and independence. And there's a provision in the law here for citizen-initiated petitions that if you're raising a constitutional question, the chief electoral officer of the province can have that question screened and reviewed by our superior courts to ensure that it's not on its face violating some constitutional principle. In the course of that hearing that's now commenced, the justice in that case referred to the Forever Canada petition as a nothing burger. It's just purely a political gimmick. So the court's currently initiated a process here where they will be reviewing and authenticating the legal validity of the question. It's causing a delay in the process of securing the petition and securing the vote. It'll probably extend either into December of this year or perhaps January of 2026. I'm confident that the court will rule the obvious, which is there's nothing wrong with the question. It's a valid question. And then that will clear the way for the 120 days of signatures, which will then obligate the Alberta government, the Danielle Smith government, to hold a province-wide referendum on Alberta independence, I anticipate in the fall of 2026. And the other advantage of, some people were concerned, feeling this court thing's a setback. I don't think so. I think it gives legitimacy to the process. It'll avoid legal challenges down the road. And it also gives us more time because, there's a third of Albertans that are absolutely committed to independence. And then there's a third of Albertans who they're never going to support independence. And it's the middle third that's so critical. And this time that while the court's reviewing it, it'll give an opportunity for the Alberta Prosperity Project and a number of other groups, independence groups. There's multiple independence groups in the province that are active. It'll give them an opportunity to go to ground, to reach out, to engage with that middle third, so that hopefully by the time we get to a true referendum question in the fall of 2026, we'll be well over the clear majority of Albertans voting yes, which is the standard set by the Supreme Court of Canada in the 1998 reference case.
When it comes to other potential legal setbacks or curveballs that you might be not necessarily worried about, but you have your eyes peeled for, is there anything else that might get in the way of this petition, save the people's momentum?
I don't think so. I think the greater uncertainty is on the other side of the equation, which is, will the Carney Liberals carry forward and continue to have in place these incredibly harmful laws, these extremist policies that Trudeau created, that Carney so far is continuing, strangling our economy, depriving our children of a prosperous future, stealing our wealth with these ridiculous equalization payments that go to other provinces? Is the pressure going to get so great that the Alberta government, the Danielle Smith government, exercises the power and discretion it has right now and at all times to itself just call for a referendum? And then we're going to have a complicating factor and an additional layer of uncertainty because we don't know what the Americans are going to do, and particularly Donald Trump. Alberta is not only culturally aligned with the United States, because a lot of people don't understand this. The first wave of immigration of settlers was actually from the United States, not from Europe. It was the cattle drives coming up after the Civil War in the U.S. So there's our initial origins as a province and our settlers, many of them are from the United States. So we have much more ties to the U.S. than perhaps any other province in Canada. The other thing is Alberta is not only an incredible supplier of resources to the United States, we're also geographically, militarily strategic area of concern for the United States, because the Americans are not worried about ever being invaded on either coast. Their coasts are impenetrable. All of their military doctrine since the Cold War, and it hasn't changed to this day, the Pentagon is worried about an invasion through the Arctic. And that's why they built their interstate system in the 1950s, so they could move their military assets very north quickly and east-west quickly. So I think in time we could see greater pressure and support from the Trump administration to address and help Albertans address their grievances. So I think those are wild cards that are difficult to predict, but I think they are more likely to influence independence than they are to influence people saying, yeah, okay, I'm going to stay in this, what many Albertans believe is an abusive relationship with Ottawa.
And final word to you.
Well, we got a long way to go. What's unique about Canada is that our Supreme Court of Canada has laid out a legal pathway for any province to go through a referendum process on a clear question, and if a clear majority of that province decide to leave the country and form their own nation, form their own country, they're allowed to do so. And this is unique. There's virtually no other country in the world that's done this. So we have the legal pathway, we have the economic horsepower, we have the cultural uniqueness here in Alberta, and I am optimistic that in 2026, in late 2026, there will be a referendum. It'll be successful.
Do you think that forget this whole issue with the Liberals and the federal government, it's time to separate, like Keith Wilson has suggested? Well, let us know in the comments. For Rebel News, I'm Syd Fizzard. DoneGettingScrewed.com is where you have to go if you want to see the latest on Alberta's independence movement pushing to get a fair deal out of Ottawa. And you can see all that at DoneGettingScrewed.com.